Thank you. We're very happy to have everybody here today. I want to remind everyone that we'd like for you to please turn off your cell phones and if again, as we operate here in this house meeting, if you have any questions you want to ask, step over here to the left, and one of my assistants will come down and take your messages and deliver it to members of the committee if you have, and they will be glad to communicate with committee members that way. Remember, we are being televised, so you want to be careful what you say and what you do. People are watching. We have some special guests in here, a group I really am proud of because my little granddaughter is a Girl Scout also. So I'm going to let Representative Dudgeon introduce a special group of young ladies we have with us today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today we are very privileged to have Girl Scout Troop 14232 from Alpharetta and Cumming here visiting. They've already done a lot of research about an education issue around school nutrition programs and trying to eat more healthy, and they recommended some stuff to me today in my office, and they're here to learn about the legislative process, so we welcome the Girl Scouts here today.
Welcome, girls. We're glad to have you. I want to ask you girls a question. Eat healthy. Are Girl Scout cookies nutritional and healthy? Yes, because I have a whole lot of them, so it's good. That's good. Do we have anyone else in the audience today? This is your first time visiting with us. Would you please stand up and just identify yourself? This is your first time you've ever visited an education committee. Tell us where you're from. Thank you. All right. Okay. All right. And you're with the committee or with self?
With self and with a group called George Working Group. We're a small group of people who can.
Very good. Thank you. Welcome. Yes. We're glad to have you with us. Do we have any teachers here today? Stand up. We're always glad to have our teachers. And where else will you teach? Very good. Very good. Glad to have you with us. Oh, good. And all right. Yes. Very good. Welcome to our committee. We're proud to have y'all with us. And again, this is for members of the Education Committee. Little housekeeping duties before we get started. We have one bill today. Our regular meeting dates now will be Tuesdays, 2 to 4. That will be our regular meeting time. And we have three subcommittees that you've all been assigned to. And let me tell you, it's getting very, very difficult to get subcommittee meetings in. And we insist you've got to try to come and attend these because we have several pieces of legislation we must get on the floor in the next 2 weeks because the calendar's winding down fast, people, and the 30th day is going to be here before you know it, and if we don't have these meetings, we're going to be in trouble. So we need to get this legislation done, so please try to attend your subcommittee meetings. If you don't have your list, let Courtney know, and she'll tell you whose committee you're on. We have Academic Achievement, that's David Casas, and Sam, he's the Vice Chair. Academic Innovations, Valerie Clark and Alicia Thomas Morgan. Academic Support, Representative Dudgeons and Representative Kaiser are the chair and vice chair of that committee, so that's very important for you to attend. If you cannot attend this meeting now, I must insist, please, just out of respect, I'd appreciate it, let me know you can't be here, where you're going to be, where I can get in touch with you if I need you, because we're going to have some very important votes, and we're going to need you here. Also, I need to remind you that we have dues for this committee. And if anyone don't want to pay your dues, that's your right. You just let me know, and we'll see if we can get you a loan through the Student Finance Committee. But we have committee dues of $25, and that's for cards, for people that flowers. We hope you don't need them, but if you happen to need them, and for the end of the year activities we do that we take up money, keep from having to bill you the last day of the session. So now listen to this, the vice chair, I'm putting you on the spot, you're responsible for collecting the dues. And if you need someone to help you, call Courtney, she'll get there to help you out. But if you'll collect the dues and give it to Courtney, we'll appreciate that. Anyone else have any questions? I do want to introduce some people I forgot to the other day, and it was very, I'm so sorry. But our Legislative Council, I'm going to tell you people, we're the luckiest committee in this capital because we have the best legislative helper in the whole world, our assistant, and that's Betsy. Betsy, stand up. I want to see you. This woman is wonderful. We love her. That lady never gets irritated. She's always as calm, and she works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And she is one of the best tennis players y'all have ever known, I guarantee you. And Abby, you three stand up back in the back. Abby, Courtney, all right, there they are. Introduce yourselves. Back to Abby, introduce yourself. Come on, hold up your hand.
Abby Wicker, I'm the policy analyst for education.
Come on, Hillary.
Hillary Nevat, I'm the intern for the education committee. Courtney Gill, and I'm the administrative assistant.
All right. All right, so we're glad to have them. And did I leave out anybody? Courtney, did I get everybody? I hope. All right. All right, now, at this time, we'll go ahead and get started because everybody has pretty busy. We have one piece of legislation on the agenda for today. And so at this time, I'd like to ask the chair of the Academic Innovations Subcommittee, what's your number? 19. To please give us the report from her subcommittee.
We had House Bill 123, the Parent Teacher Empowerment Act, and it was recommended do pass.
All right. That's House Bill 123. You have in your folders a copy of the bill that passed. All you have in your folder now is a copy of the bill as it passed the subcommittee. Is that correct, Courtney?
No, sir.
And now, wait a minute now. You've got some other amendments for other things. Now, you're going to have a substitute and I think an amendment also. So at this time, they're all in the folder. So there is an original, and I'll ask the author to please give us the original bill that we're working from that passed subcommittee. Then I'd ask him to please explain the amendments and the substitutes. So Representative Lindsay, if you'll please come down to the table if you like and present your bill. This is the one we passed out. That's where's the subcommittee? I assume, I think the one we passed out was LC 334998S, right? Yes, sir. That's what passed out.
And we have a proposed committee substitute, LC 335037S as a proposed substitute. And for those folks on the subcommittee, the substantive change from the one that y'all passed out, the point that was raised, I believe, in the subcommittee that I thought was very valid, which was to put forth a time period for the parent petitioners after they have had the signatures approved by the board, a time period that they have to actually file the petition with the local board, so that the parents' desires don't grow stale. And so we put forth a 90-day requirement, which we think should be sufficient.
If you would then, Representative, you would start and just walk us through the bill. Now,
Yeah.
The way this committee works, all discussion took place in the subcommittee, where the audience will know this bill has been discussed and hashed, and he's had people visit him all since the subcommittee meeting, so the only one who may ask questions will be the full committee. So at this time.
Yes, sir, and thank you for that point, because and I do want to thank all the various groups and organizations and individual parents who've come to me with thoughts and suggestions on the bill since we dropped it. I think they have made a lot of good points, and we've tried to incorporate as many of them as possible. And as a matter of fact, there's a couple of additional points that were made to me this morning that I'm going to ask for you to also consider that aren't in here, that a couple of parents came to me on. Essentially, what this bill, it's titled, an Empowerment Act, and that's essentially what we're seeking to do, which is to give both parents and teachers, regarding various issues, an avenue to have their concerns addressed by their local school board and affirmatively voted, either up or down, by the local school board. As we all know who have served on this committee for some time, that the three essential ingredients to a successful education are a involved parent, an inspiring teacher, and an engaged child. What this bill seeks to do is enhance all three of those. If I can sort of walk through briefly what the bill does, starting with Section 2 of the bill, it simply adds to the folks who can make a petition to a local school board, in addition to the other charter petitioners that are already recognized under Georgia law. A petitioner who gains at least 50% signatures from the parents in a local school. And let me sort of, while I'm going to jump ahead a little bit and explain how that will work. We sort of went back and forth on what's the best way to do this in terms of who should be included in the pool, for want of a better term. And we decided that it ought to be all of the parents of students who are actually attending the school at the time that the petition is circulated. And the way it'll work is that we do it by student households. In other words, if Representative Dudgeon and his wife have 3 children at a school, hypothetically, I know Representative Carter is married, but let's just say Representative Carter was a single mom with 1 child at the same school, the parent household would have 1 vote. So we felt that was the fairest way to do it. In terms of Section 2, moving on, 20-2-2200 defines low achieving school. This definition comes from already existing Georgia law, particularly when it comes to the Office of Student Achievement, who basically determines those schools that are low achieving. That will come into play when it comes to what's called a turnaround model, which is a second avenue that parents and teachers can pursue underneath this bill. They can request one of 2 things. They can either request that a school be converted from a traditional school into what's called a conversion charter, or they can request a turnaround model if we're dealing with a low performing school, in which the parents and or the teachers make a specific request for a turnaround model based on the low performance of a particular school. The bill goes on to explain under 22-2-2201 what I just finished explaining in terms of parent households voting on it on a particular measure. Moving on to page 3, the burden for when a petition is being circulated by parents, the burden on verifying the signatures, we went back and forth with the schools boards as to who would be the better person to verify it. Would it be better to be the school boards, or would it be better to be the parents who are making the petition? The school boards asked that we put that burden on the petitioners themselves in terms of verifying signatures, and that's where the burden lies. It is at this point that I would like for you to consider at line 69, where I talk about things that the petitioners must verify to the school. We did have some parents who I thought made an excellent point to me this morning, where it says verify. I assume that would mean a sworn verification anyway, but to make sure that that's very clear after the word verify, I'm going to ask by amendment at the appropriate time that you add the language by sworn affidavit. Certain things. That the signatures are true and correct. They must also verify that no for-profit entity participated in the initiation of the petition or collection of signatures. There's been some understandable concern about some for-profit institutions trying to prey on parents. We took that out by that provision. Moving on to 20-2-2202. It basically lays out the various things that can be done with what's called a turnaround model, in which instead of requesting for a conversion to a charter school, the parents or the teachers simply request one of several possible ways in which the management team can be rearranged. These options are generally already contained in Georgia law for things for the Office of Student Achievement to do, and what we're simply now doing is allowing the parents to recommend it as well. Down at line 93, there's the parents also, I thought, raising another good point, and at the appropriate time, where it says local school system period, I'd like to add at the end of that sentence, if another such school exists, simply as a pragmatic matter. I think it's sort of implied by the bill already, but that simply would spell it out, expressly. 22-2-203 then goes out and sort of outlines the duties of the board, of the local board. Once they receive a petition, they'll have 30 days to review the petition and to confirm that the appropriate signatures are on, number of signatures are on it. Also, when it comes to the turnaround model, let me sort of go back. I did overlook one thing real briefly. Turnaround model can also be recommended by teachers. Teachers could do it by one of two different ways. They could either do it by a petition, or they can do it by secret ballot in a manner to be prescribed by the state school board. We'll set up the rules and regulations for how to do that. Obviously, a lot of teachers would not necessarily want to put their names on a petition to fire their boss. They might feel a little more comfortable doing so by secret ballot, and so we do allow for that. Once the school board has set out that the petition is in order on its face, if it's a conversion charter request, as I mentioned earlier, I have inserted language that requires the petitioning parents to actually file their charter school application with the local school board within 90 days. I don't want this to grow stale. I want them to actually keep moving forward with it. And then after that, the local school board will have 60 days to consider the application for either a conversion charter or a turnaround model. They must act within the 60-day period of time. If it's only a majority of the parents or a majority of the teachers regarding a turnaround model, the school board can turn down the request by a majority vote. If it's over 60% of the parents or the teachers, they can only turn it down by a 2/3 or greater margin. That was already in the bill that we previously passed. If they do, there are certain steps that are set forth regarding, quite frankly, allowing for negotiation back and forth between the petitioners and the school board. Obviously, particularly with a turnaround model, the local school board has the option of, instead of accepting the exact requested turnaround, they can also come up with their own turnaround instead and put that into place if they believe that's in the best interest. It also sets forth criteria both here and in the already existing conversion charter statute, grounds for which the local school board can turn down a petition or a request. The key here is that that this creates an avenue for better dialogue between both the teachers and the school board, or the parents and the school board, and requires that that the school board react to legitimate concerns and actually basically vote up or down whether or not they think that this is a valid concern, whether or not this is something that should be followed. So I've had a lot of confusion regarding this bill. I have people say, well, you're taking away local control, and that's the furthest thing from what this bill does. This bill enhances local control. It basically gives greater power to the parents to petition their local government and requires the local government to respond, but keeps the issue at the local level. And I can't think of anything that would be more beneficial to education than having greater dialogue between school boards and parents. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to take any questions.
At this time, we'll entertain questions. Now, I'm not familiar with where you are, so please, if you would, I'm going to take in the orders your lights come on. So the first one to come on was number 16. Where's that? All right, Representative Thomas, all right?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lindsay,
Yeah.
In reading through the bill and hearing your presentation of it, it sounds to me like this bill is designed exclusively to address non-charter schools. And I'm wondering why it would be structured that way, because it just seems to me that there seems to be an implicit assumption that a charter school would not be a non-performing or poorly performing school to begin with. And I can imagine there are charter schools out there that do not perform well, and that the parents might actually, who maybe weren't even involved in creating the charter, may want to see some changes, and it may be true of the faculty as well, although that would be more precarious since they're under contract in a strange way. But
Yeah. What you have with the charter school, Representative Thompson, it's a good point that you raised. We already have an existing contract between the local school system and the parents in the original creation of that charter, which has to come up on a regular basis for renewal. Now, if you and I'll be happy to sort of sit down with you, believe that the contents of charters needs to be enhanced as to what is originally required when they adopt a charter, I'll be happy to sort of work with you on that, because what we want is well-performing charter schools, but that's another issue for another bill. What we're dealing with here is the creation of charter schools. What you're talking about is how, once they're created, how they operate, and I think that your point is a valid one. In terms of maintaining quality control, but that's another issue for another bill, and I'll be happy to sort of work with you on that.
All right. Number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Benton.
Representative Lindsay, on page 3,
Yes, sir.
I'm still concerned about the liability issue with a couple of your models there. Have you run this? Is Lead Council satisfied that this is a?
Yes. I worked very closely with Betsy Howerton. We spent several months working on this bill in terms of the liability issues, particularly in light of the fact that the ultimate decision-making still rests with the local board. And one of the criteria when it comes to particularly employment liability, I assume that's where your question was going, issues, that's one of the criteria for the local school board rejecting a proposed turnaround model. Are those exact concerns?
Also on page 4, at the top of the page, I'm still concerned about the cost of the transportation of students.
You know, that's something that we already deal with already existing charters, and like I said, like we discussed in the subcommittee, when it comes to the cost factors for implementing this, that's one reason why we kept it at the local level. That's a legitimate concern for a local school board to weigh in terms of whether or not to accept the application.
One final question, Mr. Chairman, if I could. In your presentation at the subcommittee and also today, you talked a great deal about local control, and I was wondering when you saw the light.
I think I've always seen the light, and I'm just trying to guide you toward it. I've always believed that the primary consideration ought to be with the local governments. However, where you and I differ is I don't believe in any entity, any governmental entity should ever have exclusive over the broad range of education. And therein lay the difference between you and I last fall. And given the fact that this is a local bill dealing with local school boards, I do look forward to you being guided toward the light and hopefully voting for this one on the floor.
Actually, I think it's. I'm not sold on it yet.
I'm going to work on you, old friend.
Okay. Number 10. Excuse me, 17.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the author, appreciate you bringing this bill.
Thank you.
Wanted to ask a question relating to the secret ballot piece. I had the opportunity back in November to spend some time with former State Rep Gloria Romero, State Senator Romero from California, who sponsored the first parent trigger bill, and was up close and personal to those fights as they played out in California. They learned some lessons about how to make it happen in a more orderly way, which undoubtedly you've incorporated in this bill.
The good part, and I'll get to your question, but just want to interject real quickly here. The good part about having other states go through their trial and errors, we can learn a little bit from their mistakes.
My question to you is, I'd asked Ms. Howerton to think about what the language would look like specifically. I laud you for having the potential for the faculty members to vote in a secret ballot. I think that's very important given the dynamics.
Sure.
Learning from some other state examples, I think those same dynamics might exist for parents. I heard some examples of parents that supported this kind of getting mobbed by people. Hey, you sign, you don't know what you're talking about, and parents kind of felt overwhelmed. They weren't looking to be in the spotlight. They weren't looking to be accosted by various interests. If we could develop the language, which I think we certainly could, would you be open to allowing parents to vote by secret ballot, given the same provisions?
I'd be open as it progresses through the House and the Senate to look at additional language. As I expect, I'll be looking at additional language all the way until this thing gets on the table of the governor, if we can get that far. But certainly be happy to sort of look at it.
And I appreciate that, because I just think that there may be well-intentioned parents who just don't feel comfortable stepping out into a frying pan of putting their name on an affidavit, those names being distributed around.
Yeah.
And I just think that secret ballot, I think, will be very meaningful as this moves forward.
Yeah, I'd be happy to look at that as the bill progresses.
26. That is, okay, Representative Morgan.
Chairman, to the author, I just have a couple of questions. One is under the options on page 4, number 4, to employ a monitor, master, or management team. Could you talk about what you envision there and what that looks like?
That's actually language, I believe, Betsy, that's taken directly from what the Office of Student Achievement can do as well, and it's already something that they have worked on. Betsy, can you help out as to what exactly they've worked on, if you don't mind?
That's what's your number over there.
I'm dialing a friend.
Phone a friend.
All right.
Those are they parallel exactly the interventions that the Office of Student Achievement can take, and if you'll notice in the bill, let's see, on line 105 through 107, it says that any turnaround models shall be imposed in the same manner as 20-14-41, which is OSA. So under those code sections, the State Board of Education actually defines the powers of a master or management team. So I don't know what those are, but assuming they're existing somewhere, that would be up to the State Board to determine that, and it would be basically played out the same way here as it is under the Office of Student Achievement.
May I ask a follow-up, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Ms. Howerton, if you could also speak to this. I'll make a statement, and then I don't want you to speak to the politics of it, but I do think it's important. There's some concern, I think, and validly so, that this is an effort to allow corporations to come and take over schools. And so would you speak to the issue that whether it's the Office of Student Achievement or the Department of Education, that they and school boards, that they in fact have the ability to do all of these things already. This is simply giving parents the ability to do so. Is that correct?
If I can, I think perhaps that's probably better.
Sure.
The political side for me to handle rather than put Betsy in that situation. But you're exactly right. That's something that both the state and the local school boards are already having to deal with when it comes to creation of any charter school. What we have tried to do,
or a turnaround model,
yeah, absolutely, both things. But that's why we have within the bill, for instance, we don't want a astroturf movement as opposed to a true grassroots movement to take hold. In other words, we don't want someone to artificially come in and create a recommendation for a charter where there's no real desire from the parents to do so, and that's why we have within the bill a provision that does not allow those organizations to be part of the original charter petition, or rather the original petition. That's why we have that safeguard in there.
One final question, Mr.
All right,
Chairman.
one more. All right. We got a lot of lights.
This is regarding the teacher piece of this.
Sure.
It's my understanding that the other models in the country don't have the teacher piece in it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't recall the teachers groups who spoke or that we've heard from since then speak to the fact that teachers would also have this ability. So have you had any of those conversations with the teachers groups?
I have, and as a matter of fact, what I do, and I believe several of y'all do it as well, I kind of round up emails and correspondence I get within a certain period of time from teachers, and about every 6 months or so I have a brown bag at the Capitol, which I invite them to come in and sort of sit down and just sort of chat about education issues. And this was one of the things that they came up with when they came and talked to me about how sometimes they feel powerless when they see a school headed in the wrong direction, and that they would like to have some kind of ability to speak to the school board. And so that's why we put that in there. And that's something that came directly from teachers who talked to me.
I attended one of those, and it was quite informative, quite eye-opening, so he did that too. All right, next, number 10, where is that? All right, Representative Dixon.
One question, and Representative Thomas kind of brought this in my mind. It doesn't. I understand your logic on parents in a charter school not being eligible for this, being excluded from the petition process. But faculty in a charter school don't have a contract for the changes. Their contract is basically the same as a teacher in any other school. And it seemed to me, if we're going to open this up for faculty and staff, that a charter school faculty and staff ought to have the same option.
Like I said before to Representative Thomas, given the fact that that ability by the local board to intervene and the parents to intervene was really sort of all surrounding the charter issue, the original contract. That's something that I think is valid for us to look at. But given the fact that it deals with after the charter school is created and what should or should not be in the original charter to allow that additional kind of oversight, I simply believe that's an excellent issue for another bill rather than what we're dealing with here.
I'd respectfully disagree with you, but that's
okay.
All right, number 29, where that's, all right, Representative Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Lancy, thank you for your hard work on what you do for education here as well. And I think a couple of questions. I'll be brief. What kind of impact would this have, or will it have any impact on federal funding?
It should not have that impact on the federal funding, and any different from any time that we create anytime we do any kind of conversion charter.
Okay.
We can already do conversion charters through other methods. We can't do it through this method. So those issues are already addressed.
Okay. Second question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. One more.
One of the concerns that I had, and you and I talked about this, was I don't want to see for-profit companies coming into my community or any community lobbying to get signatures for to start up these schools, whether it be a turnaround model, whether it be a conversion charter. And what you want to see if you would, and you've got some language in here, but
line 71.
Right, but I thought maybe if we, in our conversation, I did prepare something and wanted to see if you would be amenable to some language that I have here. And if I can read it, maybe that could, we can see it. If we were to add let's see, that would be in your section, that would be section 20-2-2201. If we go to number, going down where you have that, well, let's see, let's go down to line 76. After 76, if we were to put in an amendment that would say parents, legal guardians, faculty or staff shall not be paid by proponents or opponents of a charter conversion to sign the petition or to initiate the pursuant to this article. And the idea is to avoid the for-profit companies coming in to these counties or to these systems and participating in, gathering signatures.
Let me just say, stylistically, that would probably be best to put something like that after line 72 and be part of the verification process.
Okay.
And I'm not, if you could read the language back to me again in terms of substance.
Parents, legal guardians, faculty, or staff shall not be paid by the proponents or opponents of a charter conversion to sign a petition initiated pursuant to this article.
I think it would be best from stylistic that since this will be underneath the the verification that has to be signed by the petitioners, that it simply say no parent, legal guardian, faculty, or staff member has accepted any payment.
Shall not receive compensation.
Have not received
Right.
any compensation for advancing this petition.
Same thing, yeah.
We will be, if you have an amendment, we'll be taking those in a minute, so let's just,
Okay.
we'll give you a chance, but this, I
But if
mean,
he's amenable to it, Mr. Chairman.
we'll bring that up, and you'll have your chance to
Okay.
ask that at that time, but let's get questions first before we go into that. All right, the next, on the, I've got them in order, number 24.
Thank you, Mr.
Reverend
Chairman.
Maxwell.
I think I about figured mine out. On 109, starting in section 109, I've had some confusion in my little mind about the local school board is going to get the petitions that have
Yes,
been
sir.
completed, and they're going to be, they're the ones that's going to count the petitions and find out whether there's the majority or not of the petitioners
Yes.
for or against this. Okay. And they've got 30 days to confirm and get back with the, they've got to confirm the names. They've got to go through the verification process and make sure, I mean, they could be 1,000 names out there. They got to go through and verify that all these thousands of names
Well,
are.
actually, yeah, the parents, the petitioners are supposed to be doing that part of the verification.
Okay, well, that was my question. It says the local board shall have no more than 30 days to confirm the names on or the results of the secret ballot vote for such petition.
Yes, because the verification part is taken over by the actual petitioners.
Okay, but the school board's got to do it again. They got to go through and verify that the verification was done by the petitioners.
They got to verify. I don't necessarily think they have to verify, but yes, they have to confirm that the verifications are correct.
Okay, that they have signed, at least the petitioners have signed the verification
Yeah.
form, I suppose.
Yes.
Then. Okay, I was concerned that they had to go back and re-verify all this.
No, that's one thing that we worked out with the local school boards when they came and talked to me
Okay.
about who should have that burden.
All right, if they don't get it complete within 30 days, then they're going to deem that it's passed for purposes.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that pretty much was where I was getting.
All right.
there.
Number 16, Representative Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Lindsay, two quick questions. First, Gwinnett County currently operates under a contract with the state under IE Square. And so would this be applicable to them?
Yes.
Okay. Second question is, I don't see any provisions in here about parents showing some involvement in the school to begin with. I mean, there's a lot of schools that fall under poor, I don't know what the term is, poor performing or underperforming schools, including any high school that has less than 65% graduation rate, which is probably almost a third of the high schools in the state. But there's no reason, there's nothing in here that suggests parents had to be involved in the first place. There are a lot of schools, as you know, where you can't get parents to come to PTA meetings or do anything. And my concern is that this gives them some out without any commitment to involvement. That, yeah, the school's not doing well, and someone says, yeah, well, just sign this petition and it'll get fixed. And so they don't get involved. They sign their signature, and some other small group of people, some of whom may be parents, but some may be outsiders, are going to then, intervene on their behalf. I mean, I'm just curious, why not some incentives to school committees where parents, have to play a role? I mean, there are other methods to get parents involved.
There are other methods, and I think that we should explore those as well, Representative. The fact that we are looking to pass this bill does not exclude those other methods as well. I believe, however, we can walk and chew gum at the same time when it comes to education reform. We don't have to limit ourselves to just one path. When it comes to whether or not the parents who are making the petition actually represent parents who are going to actively do what we hope they would do in a conversion charter, that's why we've left the ultimate decision with the local school board. That is obviously a factor for them to consider.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
25, you still have a question? You wait. Okay, the last question, and then we're going to take some. All right, number 21, Representative Dudgeon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative Lindsay, for bringing this bill. So is it true that one of the main goals of this is to provide an opportunity for parents to bring issues to light, to provide pressure, to provide a legal mechanism which is going to force issues which sometimes unfortunately get swept under the rug in some situations with some bad schools, and allow them to put so much pressure on a local board that they're going to have to act But even that pressure still is making that local board act. But that's the key there is in order to bring these issues to light. Is that really a big goal of what you're trying to do?
That's exactly what we're trying to do.
All right, thank you.
All right, that's all the questions. So at this time, do I have, I know I do, I have some, so I want to be, so you know how it works. I'm going to take your amendments. Do I have any amendments at this time? If you have one you'd like to offer, please, let's see your light blinking, and we'll go from there, all right? The first light that came on was 26. What's your amendment?
Mr. Chairman, I believe the amendment is in the folders of the
All right,
members.
do you have a number on it?
AM 331280.
Everyone find that? AM 331280, all right?
And it's essentially adding a new section, subsection F, and it relates to if a district is deciding to go with using a public charter management organization, that they have to have, if they've had schools in operation for at least 5 years, that an organization that has had a failing school essentially could not be utilized.
Okay.
And I have spoken to the author, and he's amenable to this.
Author has agreed to this one. Okay, so we'll take this one. So Betsy, you're with us? All right. Do I have any other amendments? All right, I have number 20. In this order, I'm taking them. 17. What's your amendment?
Mr. Chairman, I worked out with Ms. Howerton. She's got the language. I've got a copy of the language. I'll read it. That would allow the parents to vote by secret ballot as well as by signing petition. And I can read that to the author and to the chairman if it pleases the chairman.
Where would you put it?
Yeah, where would it go?
As drafted by Let's Council on line 56, inserting after such parents or guardians, insert, and again, Let's Council's got the language, or by the vote of more than 50% of such parents or guardians taken by secret ballot at a public meeting called within 2 weeks advance notice. Mirrors the language of the secret ballot down below. As proposed for the faculty, would simply take that, and I'll read it again.
All right, once again, everybody, it's on page 2.
Page 2, line 56.
Line 56, after parents or guardians.
I would insert, and it would read, as evidenced by the signatures of more than 50% of such parents or guardians, or, and I insert, by the vote of more than 50% of such parents or guardians taken by secret ballot at the public meeting called within 2 weeks advance notice.
And it's still 50% of all the parents.
Yes.
All right.
And just for grammatical cleanup on line 58, I would stick in or vote after signature. Just some cleanup for reference.
All right. The author? Well, you're fine. Okay. Betsy, do you have that? I do. Okay. The next, these are just amendments I'm taking now. Just we'll talk about the amendments in a minute. All I'm taking right now are amendments. No questions about the amendments yet. We'll do that in a second. So I assume all of you are asking, is that, huh? I mean, this thing is like a Christmas tree now. 73 amendments. I hope you're, all right, if you don't, number 29, and do you have an amendment?
Yes.
All right, number 29, you were next in order. What's your amendment?
Okay, my amendment is, I think the location, do you want to talk about location first? Representative Lindsay?
Yes.
Speak up just a little bit, we can't.
Right after line 72.
72. After signatures?
Yes. Add a 3. You have 2, 1 and a 2. Go to number 3, and let it say no parent, comma, legal guardian, comma, faculty, comma, or instructional staff member shall receive any compensation from proponents or opponents of the petition to sign or, Betsy, I'm trying to reach her right here.
Betsy, you clear?
Yeah.
Read it
You
to
want
us.
to do it? Yeah.
Yeah, so we need number 3.
Wait, Matt. Go ahead.
It would say, no parent, legal guardian, faculty, or instructional staff member has received any compensation from proponents or opponents of a petition to sign or refrain from signing a petition.
That's fine. Stylistically, you're obviously going to have to cut at line 70 and add a semicolon at line 72 and insert the word "and" with that.
Okay.
Okay. All right, that's that one. All right, now, I assume that 25, you have an amendment? You don't? Okay, I assume 1, you have an amendment? All right, number 1.
Representative Lindsay, we talked about this in the subcommittee meeting. I had a problem with the 50%. Even when we do legislation, we're required to have more than 50%. So I was, in order to make sure that a majority of the people actually want to do this, I'd like to see the number 50 changed to 60%.
No, well, I understand your amendment, but no. The whole purpose of the bill is to encourage discussions between the parents and the school board, given the fact that the local school board still has the ultimate acting authority. I think if you get more than 50% of the parents desiring to do something, that the school board ought to be taking that issue up.
Okay, and don't you think 60% would be a reasonable figure?
No, I think 50% is a reasonable figure. 60% means that they creates even a higher bar, but I think 50% should be sufficient for a school board to at least take the issue up.
Okay, I'd still like to have.
I understand.
All right, the amendment, where are you going, you got that, Betsy?
It's on line 63 and 65.
Yeah, we have to make several changes, because if you refer to a majority, we have to replace that language
With 60%.
at least 60%.
All right.
In several places.
All right. All right, we have right now before us 4 amendments. As you know, we take those in reverse order. So what we're going to have to do is take the amendment. We'll have to get everyone listen carefully. We're going to vote in just a few minutes. So please, I need you to stay around if you can. I know some of you have to vote on some transportation members. But the first amendment we will take, if you'll read it, it's from Representative Benton. Betsy, would you please read and tell us what that amendment does?
His amendment would change the 50% or greater than 50% requirement to greater than 60% requirement. So we change 50% everywhere it is in the bill to 60%, and also change the language that referenced a majority to read at least 60%.
All right, you hear the amendment. Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Raise your hand. I want your mic to be. All right, Hugh Floyd. Representative Floyd, you second it?
Yes.
I have a motion and a second. All right, discussion.
I would ask, for the reasons I stated earlier, Mr. Chairman, that this amendment be voted down. I think that if over half the parents at a school wish to have their school board address a serious concern regarding the operation of the school, that ought to be plenty sufficient for that local school board to take up the parents' concerns.
All right. Any other discussion? Would the author of the amendment like to say anything?
Mr. Chairman, I feel like that at 50% or 51%, even if it's a secret ballot, you're going to end up splitting that school, either parent-wise or faculty-wise. And if you go 60%, you've got a big majority that are for. You could end up with half the school being for, half the school being against. What are you going to do then? So at 60%, you pretty much got a mandate there to do it.
Okay. All right, and I will give the author the last comment. All right, 25.
Just one last point.
All right, let me get this 25. Then you're going to have. I'm going to give you the 25.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a comment. I want to remind my colleagues that 50 plus 1 is what got us here.
Okay. The author, you have the last comment before we vote, all right?
Not sure if I can beat that.
I think you need to leave well enough alone. Would you, any comment? All right, we're ready to vote. You heard Betsy once again read the amendment.
Changing 50% everywhere it is in the bill to 60%, and changing the language referencing a majority to at least 60%.
All right, all in favor of the amendment as read, please indicate by raising your hand. In favor of the amendment. 1, 2. Betsy, y'all got them? Amber, you in? What was the vote? All right, all against the amendment. All right, you got them? Oh, yeah, you got them? Everybody raise your hand if you're against it. They can't see high. And raise them up. Raise them up. Don't be afraid. They can't see you down there. A lot of you like Jack in the Boxes. You got them? You got them? You think you got it? You want it again? What's it? 10 what? 10 yays? How about no?
No, nays.
How about yes? 6 yays and 10 nays, all right? So it does not pass, all right? What's the Second Amendment? People, listen to me. When you vote, get your hands up, because these things that, hey, you got to make a decision. And all right, the Second Amendment. All right, Howard Amendment. Please give your amendment.
Is to insert on line 72 after signature, remove the period and go and no parent, legal guardian, faculty, or instructional staff member has shall, this is my word, shall receive any compensation from proponents or opponents of the petition to sign or refrain from signing a petition.
Is that the way you have it, Benson? You want to read it? Read it. Go ahead.
Well, I actually have the word "has" there because the way the person initiating the petition is confirming that there has been no compensation received. So adding a new 3 that says no parent, legal guardian, faculty, or instructional staff member has received any compensation from proponents or opponents of a petition to sign or refrain from signing such petition.
All right. We have the amendment. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All right. Any discussion? 11.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question for the author on this. Do you believe that this could be used to nullify a petition?
Do me a favor. Pull your microphone up to you.
For example, if I thought that the vote was going to go towards a reorganization, that they had the vote, and so I decided to take some payment, and so would that kill the petition, or because there's no penalty mentioned, is that, what's your opinion?
That's a good point.
Or does it need to be stated, but shall not nullify the petition? I mean, I don't know if that needs to be stated.
That's a good point. And
on either side, I could see mischief on either side.
And I am worried about that because that's an excellent point. And Representative, I know you and I talked about this issue, and I do think that we do already have in there line 71 regarding profit. And I do understand your concerns, and I'm going to ask if you would be willing to withdraw the amendment at this time and let you and I work on some additional language. And as we go through the process in the Senate, I assure you that if there's some way to strengthen your concern, I'm happy to work with you. But I do worry about somebody playing shenanigans with the drive and thereby trying to nullify the whole thing by virtue of something that they're doing. And so for that reason, I would oppose. I agree with what you're trying to do. I oppose the amendment because of possible shenanigans, and I assure you that I will continue to try to strengthen what we already have in the bill at line 71 and 72.
Yeah, I'll take you at your word.
Yeah, and because I agree with what you're trying to do. I think we already have it in there, and I'm happy to strengthen it.
We've got to strengthen that. There's no teeth there. And how do you fix it?
Well, I think the teeth there lies in the confirmation process by the local school board. If it is proven that that a for-profit entity participated in the initiation of the petition or collection of the signatures at the first step, the board can not confirm the application.
So is there any language would you suggest that we could put in here to fix what Madam Jones suggested? Anything we can do to fix that?
Could add that it would not nullify the petition.
Let me let Representative Thomas, he says he has suggestions. See if he can bring some closure here, all right?
Well, I think the problem is now created by putting the language in the verification portion of the bill. I think Representative Howard's initial recommendation was it, go after lines at the end of line 76, which, is also doesn't have any consequences, but it does say that, the member shall be free from harassment, threats, intimidation, et cetera, et cetera. You could also add that none of those same parties would it be permissible for them to receive any compensation or money for supporting or opposing it as part of that process. So
I think quite frankly, I think you're right. I think if we put it back where the representative originally
In the E section.
before,
Like square one.
before I try to steer him in the wrong direction.
see, he was walking and chewing gum at the same time.
Yeah, he could.
There you go.
Yeah. See, he could do it right, and I couldn't. Parents, yeah. I think if we put the language back where Representative Thomas and Representative Howard originally wanted, I think we could deal with the speaker pro tem.
All right, is that going to be your amendment then, Representative Howard?
Yes, so we'll shift it down to make it an E? Or is that what we're
You'll
saying?
second it. Representative, all right, so that's your amendment,
Yes, to insert.
and then your second?
Yes, sir.
All right, we have amendment, a second. Do you agree or does, and it's agreed, all right, any discussion? No discussion? All right, Betsy, read the amendment one more time.
One thing that is kind of occurred to me is that this is just prohibiting signing a petition. Do you also want to have that apply to the secret ballot process as well? Because this is just, okay. So I think it would be Representative Howard's original language, going back to his shall, actually, and then we'll add some language at the end. So something like no parent, legal guardian, faculty, or instructional staff member shall receive any compensation from proponents or opponents of a petition to sign or refrain from signing such petition or to vote by secret ballot for such petition. Vote or not vote for such petition.
Is that okay?
Roughly.
Okay, okay. All right, any more, I see no more discussion. All in favor of the amendment, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Good, let's go to the next amendment. Setzler amendment, all right? Representative Setzler? Betsy, you want to read that? Am I catching you?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
All right, so on line 56, at the end of that sentence that ends guardians, it would add the language, or by the vote of more than 50% of such parents or guardians taken by secret ballot at a public meeting called with 2 weeks advance notice. And then on the next page, just to kind of make it consistent, on line 58, after signature, we would add by, and I think Representative Setzler suggested, or secret ballot, which I think is good. And then on that same line after petition, or casting their secret ballot. So that would be consistent throughout.
Do I have a second? Second. I have a second. Any discussion? 25?
My question is about.
All right. Your question about what?
Once we're done. My question.
Oh, once we're done, okay. 26?
Mr. Chairman, just as a practical matter, if someone is voting on a secret ballot, how would that process work to verify those signatures?
You don't verify the signature. You verify that they are able to vote.
To get a ballot.
That they voted.
Okay.
They are
Okay.
credentials, all right? 17. Yes, sir. 17.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To Representative Morgan's question, there's going to be a credentials process even when you do this for faculty members because it's talking about instructional staff. So, there's going to have to be a process of determining those that are eligible. The same thing would apply for parents. The process would look the same for faculty members as qualified parents.
Okay. 16. Representative Thomas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just waiting for you to push the button. Thank you, sir.
You're on.
Representative Setzler and I were chatting about this a little bit. The only point I wanted to bring up with the committee is that there's a difference between a set of parents who are interested in this and faculty. The faculty are working for a school administration, and let's say they were vocal supporters of this or opponents, and the other side won. Probably more likely if they were proponents and they lost, there could be impacts to their career and their role in the school. So it makes sense to have a secret ballot from that perspective. Parents, on the other hand, are in a completely different place in this. I mean, the idea, I think, is the proponents are trying to get 50% plus one parents to sign this affirmatively to move in this direction. So it's not like there's some consequence, in all likelihood, that they're facing in order to do this. And while, yeah, the Board of Education can develop a process for this, I mean, imagine what that process is going to be like. It's going to be very bureaucratic, very time-consuming. I mean, I have no issues with a secret vote. It just seems, given the reality of what may happen with this process, it's hard to see why it would be worth, tasking the Department of Education to come up with a procedure for it. But that's just my view.
I have two more. Yes, Arthur.
On that narrow point, there are other provisions already in the law in other areas that allow for secret ballot by parents in a manner to be prescribed by the state school board. We already have them coming up with those in other areas already.
Okay.
I understand your other points, but on that point.
11.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Speaker Pro Tem.
Thank you. I would like to mention that I think a parent could actually feel the same concerns about repercussions in some areas of the state where, although a faculty member would be free, although it would not be an easy thing, and I wouldn't want them to have to do this, to leave and go get a job at another school, a parent's child, in most cases, is districted to one school and one school only with one principal and one set of faculty, and might, in fact, fairly or unfairly feel intimidated if they were on the wrong side of this decision. I think it's equally important that parents feel comfortable and secure in this.
All right, last comment, 17.
I just echo what the Pro Tem said, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any comment from the author? All right, we're ready for a vote. All in favor of this amendment, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Okay, passed. Last amendment. The Morgan Amendment, Betsy. And it's in your package. It's, am I correct, Betsy? AM 33-1280. All right. Please explain to us what this does, if you would. I think it's clear. Or at least, you clear? I think everybody's clear. Anybody need an explanation? Alicia, just quickly.
Sure. Essentially what we want to do is ensure that if a public charter management organization is selected by the school board, that it's one that has high-performing schools. Good. And in fact, if it has schools that it's operating that are in the bottom 50%, that they will not be allowed to provide services to this district.
Good. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second. All in favor? Any discussion? See none? Oh, gosh, one. Okay, Tom, I'm sorry the light didn't come. All right, Tommy? I'm Representative Benton.
In too big a hurry to get this passed.
No, okay, that's fine.
Take our time.
I have a question about the 50%. If we're really concerned about performance, then why don't we raise that they have to be in the top 75% instead of they can't be below 50% or the top 25%?
You're on.
What I want to say, I won't.
Well, go ahead.
Well, what I want to say is I wish we had the same standard for every public school.
Okay.
And so I think 50% is a reasonable number. When we look at the lowest performing schools through DOE, we usually talk about the lowest 20%. And so this is still a very high number to make sure that we have a high performing charter management organization.
Okay. Any other comments? We have it. All right. Any other discussion? If not, I have a motion and a second. All in favor of Amendment AM 33-1280, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. No. I have so recorded. Courtney? All right. At this time, I have no more questions, discussion. I'm going to turn it over to the author, all right? Your comments.
I did have two amendments.
You have two more amendments, all right?
I had two that I proposed at the very beginning.
Okay, that's right. Wait, and then
line 69.
All right, line 69, everybody.
After the word verify, just add by sworn affidavit.
Okay. All right, I saw that. Yeah, we came to have a motion that we accept that. Do I have a second? And a second. All in, any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? All right, second one, I'm sorry, Representative.
No problem.
It's on line 92, I think.
Line 93, after the word system, simply add the words, if another such school exists.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion? All right, all in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Okay, passed. Is anything else? Anybody have anything else to say about the bill or anything good for the order? Are you ready to vote? Yes. All right, do I have a motion on the bill as amended?
Move to pass it.
I have it moved that it's to pass. Do I have a second? All right, all in favor, please indicate by standing up.
Secret. There are no secret ballots.
You got it? All opposed, like sign. Give everybody a chance to have their vote. Okay. All right. You don't have to stand. Raise your hand. If you oppose, raise your hand. All right. I have. Raise your hand if you're opposed. Now I want to get sure you're recorded. I have 3. Is that right? You got them, Courtney? All right. It has passed. It will be moved to rules. And thank you so much. I have an announcement for this committee. So listen very carefully. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, we had scheduled an academic support subcommittee for tomorrow at 3, but other meetings have trumped us. So the academic support committee to hear House Bill 7 by Representative Golick and House Bill 244 by Chairman Nix will be at 1 o'clock on Thursday and room TBD. 1 o'clock Thursday, academic support.
And that's critical, people, to be there. Critical. Now, let me tell you, once again, members, a couple of you else walked in. You're on subcommittees. Now, we have dues coming while I have some of the new ones here. The dues, somebody asked you, that's for 2 years, and that's not $25 for 1 year. So $12.50, where can you get a $12.50 due where you get your cards? And at least you got some for the flowers when you had your baby, you remember. So we take care of you. So any other questions, any other comments? Thank you so much. We stand adjourned. Remember, we are reconvening now for the subcommittee. Academic achievement will meet 3 minutes after we adjourn. Okay.